Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. What did he mean by his statement that the government will make significant changes to Schedule 4 to allow mining, quote, notwithstanding the public consultation process?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think the member should read the full quote. I said it is my expectation the government will act on at least some of the recommendations in the discussion document because new mining on Crown land has the potential to increase economic growth and create jobs. And presumably that is why Labor approved 118 new permits on mining on Crown land, including the Paparoa National Park.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. I've called the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister confirm that none of the land that was approved for mining under Labor was in fact protected land under Schedule 4? And can he confirm that the public can have no confidence in the consultation process because he said he's going to go ahead regardless, and because the public know that long before they were brought into this discussion, National had made a secret deal with the mining interests to mine in protected areas even before the election?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I can only assume the Leader of the Opposition is desperate to get on TV if he wants to make things up.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Did that answer in any way address anything I asked the Prime Minister about?
Order. Now order. I warned government frontbenchers on this occasion. A point of order was being heard and they were interjecting loudly, which they know is actually totally unacceptable. I think on reflection the Leader of the Opposition would realise his question was a fairly provocative question and it provoked a fairly strong response. And I think if the member wants serious answers, he's got to be a bit more constrained in his question. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Question, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, how happy is the Prime Minister with the process for mining protected areas when the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment has been absolutely scathing about the inadequacy of that process, saying, for example, that the government document is, quote, vague and rudimentary, end quote, and fails to provide, quote, a coherent argument, end quote, for mining protected land?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it strikes me actually that the Commissioner was making a very circular argument. Actually, the Commissioner was saying that we should only remove land where the mineral value outweighs the conservation values. Actually, we can't determine that unless we do remove things from Schedule 4.
Supplementary question, Mr. Speaker. Dig it up first and then ask questions. Mr. Speaker, what's his response to the criticism from the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment that by watering down the powers of the Minister of Conservation, National has both compromised her role and unfairly privileged mining interests?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
I'd reject them.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister intend to open up for mining currently protected land beyond the 7,000 hectares already announced? And if so, does that mean that the 467,000 hectares that Jerry Brownlee and Kate Wilkinson took to the Cabinet on the 10th of February this year are also vulnerable to mining?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, and actually what I think the documents that the government actually released showed is how conservative the government's been, because officials actually proposed 467,000 hectares. The government actually agreed on 7,000, and it's adding a further 12,000. If anything, it shows what a conservative government we are.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, in light of that answer, who signed the paper? Was it Jerry Brownlee and Kate Wilkinson or some anonymous official?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I guess the one difference between this government and the previous administration is we take things...
Point of order, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, it's very straightforward. Who signed the paper? That doesn't address the question. It goes off in an irrelevant tangent.
Now, I've asked government, this again, it was government members interjecting on a point of order. Now, OK, the issues are strongly debated. I accept that absolutely. But the House must treat these matters with some dignity. And government backbenchers will not interject while a point of order is being heard. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition did ask a question that would be reasonable to answer, and I'd ask the Prime Minister to do that.
Mr. Speaker, the ministers signed the papers, and the difference between this government and the previous government is we take things to Cabinet and have a genuine conversation. Under the previous government, they were all a bunch of muppets that just agreed to what the Prime Minister thought.
Order. Order. On this occasion, I say to the senior government whip, when the Speaker's on his feet, there won't be any interjection. Now, that kind of comment is not going to lead to good order in the House. And I think the Prime Minister knows that, and I'd ask him not to go over the top like that. That's unfair. Does the Honourable Leader of the Opposition have further...
Well, he hasn't answered any of the five so far, Mr. Speaker. Probably
order. We therefore go to question number 2, Aaron Gilmore.
Point of order, Mr.
Order.
Speaker. Point of...
Now, order. This time it's both front benches. I just ask members to please be a little more reasonable, respect the House a little more. Aaron Gilmore.
point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Jacinda Ardern.
Mr. Speaker, I seek leave for the conservation requirement for special approval for changes to Schedule 4 Amendment Bill to be introduced and set down for first reading on the 5th of May.
Leave is sought for that course of action. Is there any objection? There is objection. Question number 2, Aaron Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and reads, what role can the